and welcome to the Free For All pod with me, Rob Fludder. As the title suggests, this is a total free-for-all with no set subject or genre, just a light-hearted and fun podcast in which I encourage listener interaction and at times special guests. Wherever you're listening, just relax and let's get into the episode. Hi and welcome to episode 4 of the Qatar World Cup review with me, Rob Fludder, on my Free For All pod. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're absolutely loving the World Cup so far. I really am. It's been really, really good and exceeded expectation, if I'm honest. I think that Qatar have put on a great World Cup so far. The football's been outstanding with plenty of shocks in there, but there's also been some real emerging talent, and none more so than young Jude Bellingham. I think there's been a lot of focus and surrounding on him over the last year or 18 months, but he's really shined at this World Cup. But here we are reviewing those last 16 matches, and what a group stage that was. I know it's not really a group stage, but what a stage in the World Cup. Absolutely fantastic, let's be honest. There was shocks, there was thrill, there was skill, there was goals galore. It had everything, didn't it? And we're really starting to see these players come into the fore now, and some real informed teams, and it's interesting matches, weren't they? Let's start with the first match in the last 16, and that was Holland against USA. No real shocks here. Holland running out 3-1 winners. I think everybody saw that coming, and maybe not the scoreline, but I think USA, we saw them in the group stages. They was in England's group with Wales and Iran as well, and they didn't really set anything alike, did they? They had not a lot going forward, no real threat. But nevertheless, did well. They got out of the group, but they come up against a Dutch side that got plenty of stars. They got some youth in there as well, and just too good for them on the day. The next match was Argentina and Australia. Now, this one, I think everybody thought would be a far bigger scoreline and much more comfortable for Argentina than it actually was in the end. But there was one man that stole the show in this game, a certain Lionel Messi. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because he's banded as being one of the greatest of all time. There's that argument that we said before between him, Ronaldo, Pele, CR9, Ronaldo, Eusebio. Who's the best ever? And he's in that bracket. And for me, I think Pele's the best of all time, but that's maybe nostalgic rather than actual. But he just turned up in this game and showed the world what a player he is. He's not in the prime of his career right now, but he's still got that magic. And I think he turned up to this game. He see that Australia are there for the taking, and he put on a show for the world. And it's class to see these type of players, and probably be his last World Cup in all fairness. But it's written for him, isn't it? That it would be good for Argentina. It would be good for Messi to see them win the World Cup. But that's safely through. That went on to England's game against Senegal. Probably 3-0 flattered England, really. Especially after the first 30 minutes. It was touch and go. I mean, Senegal had some real good chances of their own, didn't they? But England, once they got that first goal, they really dominated the game. And in the end went through quite comfortably, quite easily. And deserved their place into the quarterfinals. And, obviously I've said my part about England and my thoughts on them, etc. That's personal only. And for reasons I've explained, but they do score a lot of goals, England. And I think, for me, they set up a mouth-watering quarter-final against the French, with, Mbappe being the main man that everybody's talking about. But, I still think that England have got a great chance in that game. But, no, it was a good game to watch, and England comfortably through. France, Mbappe on show again, absolutely run the show, didn't he, in this game against Poland. Run out 3-1 winners. Poland looked very defensive. They looked very leggy, didn't they? They just plonked a load of lads behind the ball. Didn't really threaten too much. And even the goal, it was a penalty. It was a definite pen. Lewandowski had the first one saved, but the keeper, he had to be retaken, the keeper being off the line. But Mbappe showed his class. But in that game, you can see that it's not just Mbappe. England can stop Mbappe, and Kyle Walker is a wily old fox, and he knows how to defend. He knows how to give away a free kick when he needs to. He's got some pace. I don't think it's going to be the Mbappe show against England. I think that if France are to beat England, I think someone like a Giroud or one of their centre mids will come up and do something a bit different, because I just think there'll be too much focus on Mbappe on that game. But what a show, what a mouth-watering tie that leads to be. The next game, Japan-Croatia. I, for one, thought that Croatia looked leggy in that group stage. And then they played against Japan. They just didn't look at their best. They didn't look at it. Modric come off as well before the end, which they were needing a goal. They got their goal, but I thought that Japan controlled that game, looked really dangerous at times. Maybe their naivety in big tournaments and not having those big players cost them a little bit. But overall, went to penalties, and it's got to be said, Japan, well done for getting to that to the knockout stages, the last 16. But those penalties were awful. From they're professional footballers. I know. I understand that there's a lot of pressure there, and I don't want to knock anybody, because it's it takes some doing to get up there and to take a penalty for your nation, especially that Japan. The nation would be so fanatical, wouldn't they? Last 16 and knockout stages of the World Cup, they'd have been right behind them. But some really poor penalties, and I don't want to take anything away from the Polish goalkeeper. Sorry, he had to make some saves there, but the penalty taking leaves a lot to be desired for Croatia. Japan, with Croatia going through. Match 54, Brazil against Korea. One-way traffic all over in the first half. Some amazing goals, some dancing celebrations. Roy Keane likened it to watching Strictly. He doesn't seem like the type of pundit that would watch Strictly to me. I can't see him sat down on a Saturday evening at 7 o'clock at night, arguing a toss over Craig Weatherall, whether he's given an 8 or a 7. But no, Brazil turned the style on, got the game done and dusted before half-time. Was able to relax, ease back a little bit. Neymar playing again. All in all, a good day at the office for Brazil, and no real scares. And again, it just shows you how dangerous they are in tournament football. These Brazilians, they can start to turn it on, and if you start to turn it on in the knockout stages, all the other nations will be feared for sure. Match 55, Morocco and Spain. Now, this was the shock of the group, I think. Well, one of the shocks of the group. Morocco went into this game not really being fancied by anybody. They've got some real class players, to be honest with you, and they've got a few flicks and tricks up their sleeve, lots of energy in the legs, but no one really fancied Morocco to beat Spain. But people were, after Spain's first game, that demolition of Costa Rica, I actually watched the Spanish side, and you've got a couple of young lads there that are coming through that will be pushing to be the superstars of world football in the next few years. But Pedri and Gavi, sorry, I should have said their names, sorry. But I thought they was a little bit tedious, a bit boring, if I'm honest. And up front, real lack of threat. I know they smashed 7 past Costa Rica, but other than that, they just didn't offer much for me. And I didn't fancy them, actually, after watching them, to do too much. Busquets in midfield looks really leggy. Great player, fantastic servant to Barcelona and Spain, but maybe one tournament too far for him. But this game finished 0-0, went to penalties, and again, the Spanish penalties. Oh, gosh, it's just not on, is it? They were cool, they were calm, they were collected, but they were probably a bit too cool. And the Moroccan goalkeeper, fair play, plaudits to him, but I think he'd have made more, I think he's made more challenging long distance saves than some of those. They were poor penalties, a bit like the Japanese a few games earlier. So yeah, Spain now and Morocco through, and fair play to Morocco. The only African nation left in the tournament, a North African nation as well. So yeah, it'd be really interesting to watch them in that next game when they play Portugal. And that leads me on to the final game of the knockout stages. That was Portugal against Switzerland. And this was a real shock as well. Not so much that Portugal won the game or went through, but by the scoreline. 6-1. mad. Nobody would have thought that. And not beginning the tournament, not part of the way through, I don't think. But what I think, once it was 2-3-0, I think the Switzerland heads went. They looked very, again, another nation looked a bit leggy. And don't forget, this is part of the way through a season for these guys. You know, a lot of these players play in the Premier League. They had a shortened pre-season, a longer season the season before. So yeah, they looked a bit leggy. But Portugal done fantastically well with another one of those guys that are banded as greatest of all time, a certain Cristiano Ronaldo, making headlines again, but not on the pitch. This is because he was benched, and the young lad that was started in front of him in the knockout stage went on to score a hat-trick. So there's a real story there, isn't there, to be told. But a fantastic last 16 stage of the World Cup, and some really interesting results went there, and some stars coming through. It sets up the quarterfinals fantastically well. So let's look forward to those quarterfinals then. So the first quarterfinal is Holland against Argentina. What a game that will be. I think this will be a real tough game for the Argentinians. I think they might struggle to score. I just think that Dutch defence, especially led by Van Dijk, he knows how to defend, he knows how to lead, and yeah, I think that Argentina may struggle to score there. Croatia, Brazil, I think this might be the final hurdle for Croatia. There could be another shock on the cards though, couldn't there, on this one? How mighty would that be? But I just think that Croatia, Modric had to come off. He'll be playing again. He'll be holding up that centre midfield, but I can see the Brazilians passing around him a bit. And I think they'll get to that Croatian defence really quite quickly, quite easily during that game. And I think it might be a hefty scoreline in this one. England, France, well, I think that's arguably the tire of the quarterfinals. I don't know. I think Holland, Argentina is going to be right up there. I can't wait to watch that match. But England, France, I think we've got England, the headlines at the moment, Jude Bellingham in midfield, going great guns. You've got Bukayo Saka, Phil Foden, all young lads doing fantastically well for England. And, there's a mix of older guys as well there, with the likes of Jordan Henderson, who scored in that match as well, in the last 16 against Senegal. That just had that little bit of experience and know-how at times. But I think the power and pace that France possess may be a bit much for England. I'm not sure. I just think the longer it goes 0-0, I fancy England more. I think England do score. They score a lot of goals, but if they get ahead, I fancy England going on to win that. But I think if France score early doors, I think it could be over for England. But that's just my prediction. Who knows? And then the last game in the quarterfinals, Morocco Portugal. Now I really don't know how to call this one. I didn't see Ronaldo being benched and Portugal scoring 6 past Switzerland with one of their guys being scoring a hat-trick, and it weren't Ronaldo. No one saw that, and I didn't see Morocco getting past Spain. So, interesting. They start on Friday night. Really, really looking forward to the Holland-Argentina match. That really stands out. I always like to watch Brazil. I suppose everybody does, really. But yeah, what a quarter-final as in prospect. And then, just looking a little bit further afield, the semi-finals, that the semi-final draw would be Holland or Argentina against Croatia or Brazil. Now, if Argentina and Brazil get through, 2 South American heavyweights there, both ex-winners multiple times of the World Cup. I think between them, they got 7 or 8 World Cups between them. And then England or France against Morocco or Portugal. And the winner of England or France will fancy their chances against Morocco and Portugal to get themselves through to the final. So, interesting quarterfinals. There's a lot to play for. I think that we are going to see at least one shock in that. I think we're going to see a star player come to the forefront. Is that star